Welcome to Objections with Stan Willis. I'm Michael Morris with Stan Willis, with Kelly Willis. First of all, I want to go to Kelly. I never thought we'd get you back here, so thank you for coming back.
Me either. I didn't think I'd come back.
So
but you two are hilarious.
We do a decent job. Stan, I don't know. Did you drive one car here? That would explain how you got Kelly here, because I don't think she came on her own.
No, she had no idea where we were going this morning.
She came into the den of sin where we record all of these things, right. And she probably is like, why am I here today?
Yeah.
But today's going to be entertaining, because you know what today's topic is?
I picked it.
That's right. Kelly, no, I'm going to walk you into it
so
because
I want
you
to talk about me.
Yes. We're going to talk. This is going to be like a Maury segment where it's going to figure out if you are the father. We're going to start there.
Wait, how did you get DNA?
Listen, we've been following you around for weeks, and you're a disgusting person, number one.
No, you have no idea.
Nate would like to know. I want to talk about Martha's Vineyard and the disgusting acts of Ron DeSantis and the right-wing people. Is that what you're going to say, Kelly? How disgusting it was? I'm just kidding. No. It was the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life.
DeSantis.
Yeah. Now, again, I want
to say he didn't come up with the idea. Biden's been bussing people all over the country for months.
Okay, but don't spike the ball because we're going to get there.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Let's, for the people.
Okay, you didn't hear that. Yeah. Just ignore that.
For the people who are not that educated about the subject, that are just reacting and freaking out about it, let's go into what happened. So Stan or Kelly, pick this up. Explain what happened for the people that only read a headline on Facebook.
Go ahead, Stan.
So, Governor DeSantis decided to ship about 50 immigrants who had come into Florida illegally up to Martha's Vineyard and put them up in a hotel for a week.
And the people of Martha's Vineyard that have said they're a sanctuary city flipped out.
They had a great big party and welcomed these people and treated them like they were their brothers and sisters.
No, Kelly, what did happen?
They called an emergency state. Over 50 people said they did not have room. Yeah. There was a housing crisis.
They brought the National Guard in to remove 50 people.
Yes.
Bring us your huddled masses as long as they're white. Now,
there was 50 people that needed.
Well, I don't think they care about white. It's
assistance. Funny. My goodness, 50 people.
All I know is if I complain that 50 people move into my neighborhood, I'm racist. But if you're in Martha's Vineyard and 50 people, we got to get them out of here because you're going to upset the golf course crowd.
Well, right.
A democratic elitist community.
So can I ask this question? Because at the same time they did that.
We are not all in this together.
No. The same time they did that, they shipped them also to Chicago where Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who looks like a Smurf it was set on fire, says...
But her hair's done, even during a pandemic.
Did you ever see the picture of her before she took the job?
I just got to tell you that just from watching videotape of her and the things that she says, she is one of the most awful people I've ever seen.
Thanks, Stan. I invited her to come on the show next week. We'll see if that's nice.
That'd be good.
Then I'll get to tell her to her face, you're one of the most awful people that I've
Did you ever read her? So they had a transcript of her talking to another governor where she said, well, my dick's bigger than yours. Okay. So just so you know, that is a governor. That is a person running a city says that to another governor.
Well, you know, our political discourse in this country is very professional and high level.
Well, you know who messed it all up? You know what president did that?
Oh, it was Trump.
Jimmy Carter. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Because of Trump, everything's going on.
I thought you were going to blame Trump when he was talking about Rubio's little hands and all that kind of stuff.
Which is still one of the funniest things, where he made fun of how he holds a bottle with his little baby hands. So when they ship these people to Chicago at the same time, Lori Lightfoot, who there are tweets where she's making statements and she had speeches, we are proud to be a sanctuary city
right.
As long as we say when we're a sanctuary city.
Well, we're a sanctuary city as long as you're not sending people to us.
Right.
We want to select
because then we have to actually be a sanctuary city.
Well, so the follow-up...
She took good care of them. She sent them all out to the suburbs.
Do you know how she sent them to a really nice part of the Chicago area, which probably saved their lives, because if you're actually in Chicago, you're going to get shot, whether you want to be or not.
She sent them up to the north to like Glen. What's the suburb to the north?
I know where you're talking about.
Northwestern is and stuff.
Yeah,
isn't that way?
Those kids got to be thrilled because there's the liberal hive mind up there that's like, yeah, bring him here. But
problem
not
is-
here. I live here. Bring him close, but not that close.
The problem is it gets freaking cold in Chicago, man.
Can you imagine that? You're crawling through the brush all the way to get here through Venezuela, and they're like, "Hey, do you have a coat? You're dead. It doesn't matter." Going back to the Martha's Vineyard thing, because now there's a lawsuit on behalf of these immigrants who were Kelly. How did they phrase it? They were scared for their life.
Scared for their
Feared
lives.
for their lives and their safety.
Yeah.
Let's back that up because they just crawled through the jungles, made their way through Mexico, crossed the border illegally. But now they get to Florida, where DeSantis put them in a hotel for 5 nights, fed them, and put them on a flight that was $12,500 per person, and they were
1,200,
afraid. No,
1,000.
12,000.
Was it really?
500
Per
What
person?
per person's what I read.
But so they're saying that's taxpayer money. It's not taxpayer money because when you're a sanctuary city, so Florida's saying we don't want to be that. So when that happens, the government gives the government this money.
Federal government.
Federal
state.
government gives it to
Because
state.
there is a difference that people do not understand.
But that's my point is
Yeah.
people are like, this cost $12 million to do. Well, it wouldn't matter because it was the Fed giving it to the state who's just putting it back in the same system. So it's a zero net sum. It didn't matter, right? And we already paid off
We
all
did
the
burn
airlines,
some
so
air
it didn't
fuel.
matter. Huh?
We did burn some air fuel, though.
Yes,
then they were afraid when they got to Martha's
They were
Vineyard.
afraid for their lives.
I saw those people just
Wait,
standing around. They
wait.
looked so happy.
But I have a question. Can anybody here name when the last murder happened on Martha's Vineyard?
It's probably in the 1700s. That's got to be the most peaceful place on the planet.
Yeah, it has to do with Teddy Kennedy.
Ted Kennedy and Chappaquiddick. Come on.
Sorry, I missed that.
You know,
that
the
little
car
key.
that accidentally ended up in the
Oops, I missed the
River.
bridge.
The funniest
and he
thing
left
that's,
it.
the funniest thing that's ever been said about Chappaquiddick was Dennis Miller said, "If Ted Kennedy was such a gentleman, why did it take him 6 hours to open a door for a lady?" Okay, but you know what? That's
I
another.
drove my car off the bridge,
That's
then I
another
walked
topic,
home.
isn't
Yes.
it? That's a good one.
My question is this: so we go to after Afghanistan, after the U.S. successfully ended their missions there poorly. You know, we're 0 for 3 in the last 3 wars. I don't want to bring that up. They ship all these Afghanis here in 2011 under the cover of darkness and just disperse them. That's the Biden administration doing that, right? That's not the Trump administration.
Right.
We don't even know where they are. We don't know how many. It's not like anybody signed any documents.
Right.
Why is it okay to do that, but it's not okay to ship them up? And I guess you're taking pictures, and that's that's upsetting people. They hired crews to take video and pictures. Why is it okay for one side and not the other?
Well, I mean, the fact is that most everybody in concept says, okay, well, this is great. We want to be a country that takes care of people. That's everybody thinks that ooey gooey. But then there's always the not in my backyard, right?
Right.
So everybody knows that we have to have a waste dump, but nobody wants to live next to it. And everybody knows that there are refugees, and in fact, we live in the Columbus area. Columbus is has the second largest population of Somalians in the world.
Right.
Or the third largest, because Minneapolis actually.
I know. My mom, being a translator, had to explain that to me, and I was like, "Why don't understand? Like, I don't see them because they're only in designated pockets." Now, my daughter goes to school with every single one of them.
Right.
They are in designated pockets. But I think those two communities have done an amazing job of welcoming the refugees and the immigrants.
So how this
we
went?
can get to that, but
how this went. So, City of Columbus.
No, keep going.
So the City of Columbus, which is made a contract with the federal government because they actually go and like bid on taking these refugees. So the City of Columbus bid on taking the refugees. At the same time, the state of Ohio had unpenned school districts from the city boundaries because it was 1980 something. Before that, if a city expanded, the school district also expanded to the city borders. Then when they unpinned it, the city could expand like crazy,
right,
but the school district stayed the same. So what happened was the city of Columbus was able to expand out into suburban school districts.
2 of them.
And then what they did was that they took these refugees. They got the money from the federal government. The city of Columbus got the money from the federal government, but then they planted the refugees out in the suburban school districts. So the suburbs, Hilliard and Westerville, are the two suburbs that got most of the refugees, are now basically have to accommodate them because the schools are where that's where the free lunch programs and the lunch programs all come in. It's where you have to accommodate and educate people.
Which they're adding to that, by the way, because again, they get paid.
Right.
They announced this huge taxpayer-funded program to build these things, but they're getting paid. The state is getting paid to do this while they're using your money to do it. It's the best grift in the world is the government.
Well, and the city's not providing a whole lot more infrastructure. They do have some additional police and fire, but that's already out there.
Right.
So the only place that's really the only thing that's the thing that's carrying the biggest burden are the school districts in the suburbs, but they're not getting any money from the federal government for all the refugees. And so this is one of the things that Kelly's pretty passionate about is when you look at what sanctuary cities are supposed to look like. I think that we have two great examples in Central Ohio of what it should look like.
Well, Kelly, give that example.
And both of those happen to be in Republican-run areas.
Yeah.
I think Hilliard and Westerville have done a great job of welcoming the refugees, making them feel welcome, having resources, programs. I can speak specifically to the one in Hilliard because we were involved. We were sponsors of it. It was Sun Ministries run under Kim Emch. She's still the director, but they are now known as FESTA because they've expanded their program so that they can help other cities understand how to do this. And one of the cities I believe they've been working with is UA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how to address the poverty issue. But what it really ended up being for what's FESTA in Hilliard, it's WARM in Westerville, which is Westerville Area Resource Ministries. And what they've done is welcomed the refugees, the immigrants, with really open arms and come up with free resources that are available to them. In Hilliard specifically, they have a free summer lunch program. It runs 10 weeks in the summer where those kids can come to camp free of charge. They are fed lunch. They have activities. The Columbus Blue Jackets come out. The zoo comes out. They have all sorts of fun activities for these kids. Even during the pandemic, they figured out how to do it. They basically sent a food truck with bags of activities so the kids would have things to do during the day. During the school year, they run an ESL program where the adults come in and
explain what ESL means.
English as a second language. It's predominantly women. I'm going to be honest because that's who comes. You don't see a lot of men.
That's who likes to talk the most. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. But it's predominantly women and children that are coming. And they have programs where the kids they can go get tutoring, they can play sports. So like our son volunteered and he played basketball, just to get off some energy for these kids. And then the adults go to class. They learn how to speak, they learn how to interview, they learn how to dress, they learn how to do a resume. Hilliard Police actually has a program where they teach them how to drive after they get their driver's license. Because you can pass the test in your language, but that doesn't help much. And we had a situation in Hilliard where an entire family in a minivan wasn't driving the right way, and it was deadly. And so the Hilliard Police have stepped in and have a whole program where they actually teach them how to drive.
But see, that is a community stepping up and having a plan, right?
Yes.
These other
individuals
cities
with a passion too, because neither of those are government.
But
those are both.
Oh, that's what I mean, is that if you really want this to work, you have to get a buy-in from the community. Martha's Vineyard wasn't going to even consider that. They weren't going to let them stay.
And the amazing thing about that situation is, Martha's Vineyard is not a heavily populated place, and I don't know, probably
there were 280 plus available Airbnbs when they said they could not house these people.
What I'm saying is there's probably a couple thousand people who have places in Martha's Vineyard. All of them are wealthy. Many of them are very outspoken about charitable things. The Obamas being two of the ones who are very outspoken.
Who are those?
And then
who are they?
Matt Damon. Yeah,
Obamas. They own an $11.75 million home on Martha's Vineyard. They could have housed all 50 people.
How does a career politician
I feel
afford
like
that?
you're kind of like running this down like we don't all have that kind of thing.
No.
My
What-
office is attached to my garage in my 2-bedroom home. So if you want to compare things, Obama, let's go. Go on, Sam.
Anyway, my point is that in the community with these people who are very outspoken and very proud of their charitable advances and very outspoken about how much they care about people and everything, not a single person. I mean, it not like the community stepped up. Not a single person came up and said, you know what? Here's something we can do. You know, we can take care of these. Not a single person in the whole community
Stepped up.
to do anything.
I like that the first thing they did was they called.
The National Guard.
Yeah.
As if these people were
Like they were
dangerous.
invaders.
Oh my goodness.
Like, we have a problem. What do you have? 50 Mexicans.
We have 50 people in need
Yeah, but were
who
they-
are
I don't know if
scared.
they
who
were-
are
I don't know if they
scared,
were
they're
all
afraid.
Mexicans. Some were wearing a sombrero. I don't know what that means. But I will say that when you call the military, you didn't call the cops, you didn't
Right.
call the mayor, you called the National Guard and said, we need you to get here to protect
You
our
didn't
streets.
call any of your people with money and ask them, hey, can you ante up a couple $1,000s so we can get them fed?
Which is funnier, Martha's Vineyard or plopping these people down at the vice president's house? I just blanked on her because she never says anything. Kamala Harris.
There you go.
I've never heard her say anything.
The
Did you hear her,
V.
Did you hear her say the community
She
bank?
has a nickname, but I don't know if I
what
want to
did
say
she
it out loud.
She spoke
She's
on it?
there speaking on a. So she's at a desk, you know, and there's like some bank thing behind it, like signage.
She's
and
never
she
even
said,
been to the border, and she's in charge of it.
She said about the banks, a community bank operates in the community, and it brings the community together to build a community in a community, and that's what a community bank does. I'm not lying. That's what she said. I had to go back and hear it again because I was like, "What the hell did she just say?"
Community.
Yeah, and you know what it made?
Shallow definition of community.
But what it did make me want to do was watch Community on Peacock. So if you're bored, watch that. But what I find embarrassing is they say there's no crisis at the border. So then people just said, here's the crisis at the border. We're going to put this on your doorstep. No comment, except, what is the name? Karina.
Well, what they're
Jean-Pierre.
going to
What's
do
the-
is now is yell at you for pointing it out, right? I mean, there's no crisis at the border. You say, here's the crisis at the
Right.
border. You idiot for showing me that.
Right.
You're awful.
Yeah. This is a political stunt. They are showing. So somebody
okay,
took.
it was
It was
brilliant of
freaking
him.
brilliant.
Here's what I think. If you were running for office in a movie, this is the kind of stunt you would pull off and they'd be like, no way somebody would do that. And then they dump some in Delaware, 50 of them. If I was them, until this gets addressed, keep sending it to somebody's doorstep. That's all they're trying to do.
Because we're not all in this together.
Well, yeah, and
Don't you remember in 2020, all the solidarity? We didn't burn down Targets, so we couldn't ship migrants everywhere.
Right. Well,
I can't remember why we were burning down the Targets. Maybe we were just mad at them.
I think there was just a lot of people running around.
They cared
with,
what they were burning.
I'm not going to say it was a CIA
With
ploy.
money
I'm not going to
from-
say that.
with money from the World Economic Forum. I'm sorry, did I say that? I don't know.
Well, I will say this, that in the long run, when I look at the poverty, has anybody looked at any video in California?
Oh, California is an
It
awful
looks like
place.
Beirut with really shiny tints. It's not a
We
good.
were in San Francisco last summer.
Yeah.
Stan was seeing an old flame.
He kept telling me what it was going to be like. It's worse live. Like you literally
We only
step
saw a little
over-
bit of poop.
No, it was the tents. I mean, there are tents on the sidewalk, and you literally just step over them, and it's so sad. And I don't. It for me that was really hard because I'm kind of a get in there and do it person. you,
I'm sorry, I
but
wasn't
there's too
expecting
many
you
to
to say
help.
poop.
Like I don't know how. Where do you start? You can't buy enough lunches.
But so this is why I bring this up. If you have, say, 1 million people come over that need services, ignore jobs.
Have a plan.
So they're going to come over. We are ignoring our own military veterans.
Amen.
And we are ignoring people that are really in trouble in just Los Angeles. I'm not even talking about the whole West Coast.
Right.
These people have always voted for whoever is going to offer them the most services, the most handout, however you want to phrase it. What do they call it? Entitlements or whatever. We're letting those people die in the streets, right? So now with inflation as it's growing, there's not going to be as much money to go around to help these people because we don't care. I mean, I'm not saying we at this, Nate doesn't care about anybody, but I'm not saying we don't care about people, but it is, we are letting people perish on concrete and walking by it or driving by it because it's not my problem, it's somebody else's. When you allow another 1 million people at minimum to come in, you don't care about them either.
No.
And so you're diminishing your resources, and I'm not against people. My family came from another country.
And the thing about,
but they did it the right way.
The thing about California is they're so freaking brilliant out there. I mean, from a government standpoint. So in Los Angeles 2 years ago, before COVID, they decided they were going to clean up the homeless issue. So they were essentially, I mean, all over Los Angeles, I guess there's like 8 or 10 different places where homeless people camp. So what they would do is they would go and they would run all the homeless people out of one of the areas and clean it all up and everything and get it all straightened up. And then they would leave and go run the homeless people out of another area. So they'd just come back to this one.
Yeah.
And they'd clean that one off. Spent $28 million cleaning up all these homeless encampments. And when they were finished, they all still existed.
It's kind of like dumping out the trash, but you're using the same trash can.
Like you're washing the car.
Well, if you look at Venice Beach.
For $28 million,
we could have
built housing.
I think the number they say to end homelessness, and I think it ends homelessness permanently, is $20 billion.
Is that Elon Musk's number?
No. That was a study done that it would cost $20 billion to do so. And that study's from like 2017, 2018, which is why they went to Elon Musk and had that debate. If you gave us $20 billion, we could end.
And he said, no, you couldn't because you don't have the will.
Well, you actually can't, because if you think about it, if I give it to an organization, 50% of it's gone because now I got to ramp up staff and all that. Right. Now you're going to run. When you see the Boys and Girls Club and all these other ads during football games and all, that's a paid for sponsorship.
Right.
So that money has to go to that. So really, the best one of all is Macy's, that red ribbon, right. Whatever. Do you know how much money?
About 2%.
It's 5% at 5%. Most. So when they do that big check presentation every year, just go in a line and see the check is only maybe higher by $26, $70, whatever, because they've already gone to an insurance person and said, what's the limit of what this could be? Uh-huh. They are getting that write-off because Kelly goes and buys something for $100. That money's coming out of her. Uh-huh. She doesn't get the write-off. So we're going to write off $100 million of your money. And people look at this as though I'm doing a good thing. No, dumbass. This is commerce. You got hooked into this thing and you believe that you're doing something charitable because you bought a Chanel scarf. Give the goddamn money to somebody who's sitting on the curb. You do more good.
It is brilliant marketing on the behalf of these major corporations.
That's why I looked into it, because
they're not paying for it.
Right, but as a person in marketing,
this is what I've said. I don't up. Like, do you want to round up? Nope. I want to determine where my money goes.
Right.
I want to make a difference.
McDonald's drive-thru.
And
do you want to round up?
I will research where I give my money.
Right.
Because when you start looking at what administrative costs are, you're wasting your money.
I just feel like you insulted my Chanel scarf.
I don't want you to feel because you're a dandy boy that I was making fun of you. You're my special little guy. But what I am saying is that charity should start individually, not letting the government do these things. So what I do like about this, I don't care. It's all a gimmick, right? Everybody's full of shit. Ben Crenshaw is the AOC of the Republican Party. So when you vote, just know you're voting for one conglomerate piece of shit. What you're trying to say is my guy won. Right? At the end of the day.
Right.
What I don't understand is when you believe that you've picked the right team and you're going to say, you guys take care of these problems. They don't care. No, we as individuals can only care. You can only take care of so many people, right? But when you see these elite coastal cities or Chicago, they don't care about these people either.
They don't care about us either.
And that's why, on Kelly's advice, we're going to mount up and we're going to go back, and it's January 6th all over again. We're going to have to pick a different date because January I think they're going to know if we come on January 6th.
Can we get some better than DC though? It's such a horrible place.
What I was thinking is Martha's
Maybe
Vineyard.
Give us free flights.
If we go to Florida, they'll ship us to Martha's Vineyard. But somebody's going to have to brush up on this Venezuelan because I don't know any of
It's
that.
kind of cold in Martha's Vineyard, though. Really, frankly,
They're never going to expect we're going to overthrow the government in Martha's Vineyard, Stan. We don't care how cold it is.
No, they're going to call in the National Guard.
How many National Guardsmen could be in there, by the way? It's got to be like 13 guys that are also the volunteer fire department.
Remember, there were only 50 immigrants. So
Well, it's Massachusetts.
I want to
though.
circle back because you said something about individual. And several years ago, I had a friend say to me, if you're this passionate about these issues, why don't you run for government?
Right.
Which made me laugh. And I said, because I will never make a change. But in an organization that cares or as an individual, I can make a change. One life at a time,
Right.
10 lives at a time. But that's okay because I won't make any difference if I run for
No.
government.
Because there's
And
so
I'm an
many.
independent, so nobody will back me.
I should have said that in the beginning. Nobody here is with a party.
No.
It always sounds like we're attacking what's going on now.
Well, I can say I've been a lifelong Democrat up until about 3 years ago.
I can tell you look like a communist.
Listen, he's from Portsmouth. I'm from Youngstown. Two
Heavily-
heavily dominant Democratic areas.
Yes, and also
But I'm
involved
an
with the mob.
independent.
I married her
Yes.
for protection.
You know, now I realize
we
it,
did
but-
not grow up with money, so I definitely.
Not money that could go into a bank. Wink.
She may not look like it, but she can break your legs.
No, I've seen it when Kelly kicks it up and gets spicy, and that's why I go somewhere else. Because I'm like, oh shit, Kelly's here. I gotta go. And they're like, why? I'm like, so she could get mad at somebody. It won't be me.
So anyway,
So in closing, the solution to this madness, I have my answer. Stan, what do you think it is?
first of all, I think we need to control the borders a little
Wrong.
better.
Kelly.
I think it's individuals and organizations making a difference.
Also wrong.
But we
Close
need
the
a plan.
borders and people need to get individually involved. You've been listening to Objections. We'll see you next week.